natural chemicals going to be, though? Or is it more likely going to be in your organic, grain-free chips over there, or is it going to be in the Pop-Tarts?
Pop-Tarts.
Okay, so I guess we understand that one. And they use 10,000 plus chemicals in food processing, preserving, storage. The EPA estimates that our homes are even now 5 to 100 times more toxic than outdoor air. So another reason to go out and exercise. It's really critical that we all understand that we're exposed to toxins daily. The fact that Alzheimer's is going up, the fact that Parkinson's is going up, that MS is going up, that autism is going up so dramatically, in big part is related to the levels of toxicity that we're all exposed to. Infertility rates are going up in women. Menstrual cramps are going up in women. We have more thyroid problems, more pancreas problems, more endocrine problems in general, and a lot of that has to do with what? Toxicity. So you have to know how to get those toxins out. And one of the best ways that your body gets rid of toxins is through glutathione. We'll talk about glutathione in a second. But again, Ritalin causes long-term damage to the brain. It's a Schedule II methamphetamine, and it causes the same high in your brain as cocaine. So how many kids are cocaine deficient? Anybody fall down and the cocaine fell out of their head and need to be replaced? All right, so is there a better answer than Ritalin? Say yes.
Yes.
Because there is. So, and we just went over like 3 of them already. The reality is that it can cause not only addictive behavior, but it's also been linked to other things too. And Adderall, which is the other one. So if you know kids who are on Adderall or Ritalin, there's again study after study after study that's shown that the long-term effects have not been studied before the drugs came out, but a lot of the stuff is coming up now because the stuff's been out long enough at this point to show. But it's gone up by 750% more with women in between the ages of 26 to 39. Why? Because a lot of these women who are feeling overwhelmed and overburdened by all of their housework, and a lot of them are working paying jobs as well, and they're feeling like they can't get it all done, so they're taking this like a prescription for a stimulant, so they can feel like they can work until 3 o'clock in the morning and get the laundry done, which is, again, there's got to be a better way. And so here's just another dilemma coming up. We all know about what's happening with OxyContin and Vicodin clinics. Well, here's another one that's coming up along the pipeline with women being severely hurt by taking this for a long period of time. It was never meant to be that way. Okay. So if you have a family that is on bad fats, eating lots of sugar, being exposed to those thousands of chemicals that are out there, that has an endocrine system that they want functioning properly, this is our system. You don't have to use ours, but it needs a couple of things. One, it needs glutathione and glutathione precursors. Okay, so write that down because that's the way that your body detoxifies. It's called glutathione. Okay, and once you dump stuff from the cells, because what glutathione does is it helps to make the impermeable cell membrane. And why do cells become impermeable? Well, if the cell is made up of what? The cell membrane is made up of fat. So if you have bad fats in your body, then the cell membrane becomes impermeable. So here's an example. Here's the cell. If you're using bad fats, you no longer have the porousness or the permeability of nutrients making it in. So here's the bad news. If you're toxic and then you start to eat good foods, that nutrition has a really hard time making it through there. Does that make sense? And so the cell can still be starving. I'm hungry, right? So it's telling your brain what? Feed me more. So you can say, oh, I've just been eating good foods, but it can't get in. Now, the metabolic wastes from the cell, so the cell has a mitochondria, it goes through its normal process of metabolism. It's trying to get the bad stuff out. But what happens? It hits that wall and what? It can't get out. So if I took you here and I taped your mouth shut, a couple of days go by, would you become irritable at some point?
You would breathe.
Yeah, well, you'd be able to breathe through your nose. But let's say you couldn't eat. Would you become irritable at some point?
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely. Now I'm taking another piece of tape and I cover the hole with which waste products get out. Now are you irritable? Come on.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah. So one of the things you have to do is put good fats in which makes the cell membrane better. Does that make sense? But now, in order to get the bad stuff out, glutathione significantly increases the speed at which you metabolize waste products. Now, when it comes to toxins, if you detox with glutathione or glutathione precursors and your body dumps all of that stuff into your gut, what happens next? What happens to food and stuff that's in your gut? Your body absorbs it. So if you don't do something to stop that reassimilation of all that, then you're just retoxing yourself. Does that make sense? And that's why the second part of ours, and a couple of other ones that are good out there, is the Body Detox, which is an activated charcoal and other things that are in there so that it binds to those toxins and eliminates them before they have a chance to go back in. Okay? But detoxing is important for everybody. Everybody who's exposed to toxins. Now there's other ways to detox too. You can detox your gut, you can detox your liver, you can detox your kidneys. But what I'm looking at is a cellular cleanse. Just something that you would do either every day like I do, or even just quarterly, just to make sure that you're clearing out all of the cellular waste. I see some people. All right, so you can take everything that I've said in the last 40 minutes and pretty much throw it away, unless you get this one concept. You can go a month without food, you can go days without water, you can go minutes without air, but you can't go 1 second without nerve supply. You cut that nerve going to your heart, you're what? You're dead. If I irritate that nerve, it's going to speed the heart up. If I pinch that nerve down, it's going to slow the heart down. Does that make sense? If I irritate the nerves going to his stomach, there's no way an organ can be 100% healthy if the nerves going to it are sick. There is no such thing as a subluxated or toxic or emotionally stressed out nerve and a healthy organ at the end of that nerve. It doesn't exist. Does that make sense? It's a total contradiction in terms. So in order for the organs to be healthy, yes, we want that food to get there. But if your nerves are pinched going to your stomach or your intestines, can you absorb and assimilate that nutrition at 100%? No. So you're literally not only wasting money and time, but you're also not dealing with healthy organs. Which organ's going to die first or become diseased first? The one that has more interference or the one that has less? The one that has more, right? So you can't go a second without nerve supply, right? So here's how it works. Here's some examples. If you have an organ at the end of this nerve, what's happened to that organ? Healthy or sick? It's developing disease, right? So how does a person know if they have nerve interference? How does a person know? Okay, so let me ask you this. If I hit my hand with a hammer, will I have pain? Does it necessarily mean that I have nerve interference? No. Okay. How about if I was born in a way that pulled me out with somewhere between 40 to 70 pounds of axial tension on my neck when I was a baby? And if I had, whether it's vacuum extraction or forceps or manual pulling and twisting, Dr. Abraham Talbot at Harvard University says 70% of kids are born with traumatic birth syndrome, which means too much pulling on their neck. I was a victim of that when I was a baby. And how many babies are saying, "Hey doc, I think you hurt me there," right? And how many parents are noticing that their kid has subluxations of their upper cervical spine a year later, 2 years later, 3 years later? If that subluxation was there, putting pressure that entire time, is that child growing to be as healthy as they should be? It's impossible. There are absolutes when it comes to health, and this is one of them. It is literally impossible for organs, cells, and tissues to be healthy if the nerves going to them are sick. But most people die not from pain. Most people die from silent killers. Does that make sense? So again, heart disease begins when? Diabetes begins when? Disease doesn't wait until you're in your 30s, 40s, or 50s. It's slow, endemic, and progressive in our society, and we have to nip it in the bud when we are as little as possible. Okay? So, is now a good time to make sure that his nervous system is healthy? Okay? You know, you couldn't pay me enough to not check my kids for a month. You know how many times especially my little one, she'll like fall, like she'll just run after the dog or something. She'll fall, hit herself. A few minutes later, I'm fine, she's running around, but I'll check her, and half the time there's a subluxation there. But what if I wasn't a chiropractor? Yeah. And what if that went a month? So you go a month until you get checked, and then you get the power on, and then 2 days later you have another fall. So you spend 29 days out of 30 subluxated. That doesn't make sense to me. So if you know how to take care of a spine, when should you start taking care of your spine? When do you teach your kids how to brush their teeth? When they grow them, right? Even before they get their second set, we want to make sure that they know what they're doing, so they start their starter set. They can mess up on those. If they don't get all the spots, fine, they're going to lose them anyway, right? You get one spine, one nervous system. You teach your kids how to take care of that from the time that they're little. So those roles that we have, my wife and I aren't the only ones in our family who use them. I make sure that my kids know how to do their spinal exercises so that they grow up taking care of their spine, because the better they do now, the less someone else has to. I have kids who start getting adjusted when they're 10, 12, 13, who are already like 1,000 adjustments behind where my kids will be at that time. So again, so here's some warning signs. Yeah, symptoms are not bad. Symptoms are your body trying to warn you, hey, something's going on. So thank God if you know someone who has symptoms, because let's say someone who has headaches. Like, so many headaches are caused because the upper cervical spine is misaligned. And I would say that 90% of people who walk into my office with headaches, like the headaches are gone within a short period of time. And that's just because, again, if the warning light is going on, if the fire alarm is going off, do you want to bash the fire alarm or do you want to put out the fire? Put out the fire and the reasons for it. So, and then again, they've actually done studies that people with high blood pressure, that chiropractic did better, and this is just chiropractic, forget the other 4 essentials, that adjustments worked better than 2 high blood pressure medications taken simultaneously. The Cinepril and I forget the other one, HT's something. Depression, again, why would chiropractic work with depression? Because your brain's not getting enough what? Stimulation. And so if the stimulation if it's not getting there because the volume of stimulus is being inhibited through the nerve pathways, then what do you want to do? Take the pressure off. So all these problems, if you guys know people with these problems, then do yourself a favor. Make sure instead of them complaining about it, tell them you've got the solution. There's 5 solutions. All of them. I can't adjust good nutrition into people, no matter how hard I try. I can't say, bam, you got some lettuce, or bam, you just exercised a mile. No, it doesn't work that way. The adjustments are good for one thing, taking the physical stress off. You also got to handle the other ones. All right? So how many of you know people who are taking medications for just these things alone? Anybody? All right. So what do you need to do? Whether they live locally or whether they live somewhere else, this is the lifesaver that we have here, to help my friends and family. What I need you to do tonight is, before you leave, write down their first name and their phone number, or their full name and their phone number. I will not cold call anyone. So you're not going to get, your friends can call and be like, who's this crazy chiropractor? This is something that we want to reach out, because if they have, let's say, nerves going to their stomach that are being irritated and it's causing acid reflux, and they're taking a Prevacid or a Tums or whatever you might want to, or whatever they're taking, the blue pill, that one, the other one, do you think they'll thank you if someone was able to figure out the reason behind that? So if they live in Colorado and I have Dr. Chris Pello call them up because you said to them first, there's going to be a chiropractor calling you to talk to you about going to one of his dinners, then how many of you think that your friends would be happier not taking medications the rest of their lives? So I can't tell you how many of my patients I've had come up to me say, why didn't anyone tell me about this sooner? It's never been the, I wish I had never started taking care of my nervous system. So if you know people who haven't been checked, everyone deserves to know the truth. Do they deserve to be healthy? Yet to be seen. This is talking about, again, pressure on the brainstem, or atlas. You guys remember Christopher Reeves, right? Superman. That's the one bone that Christopher Reeves broke. It was his atlas. It's the most commonly misaligned bone in the body. It happens through the birth process. It happens through positions where your head's down like this, because 10 pounds over the course of time is stronger than those little 6 muscles that hold that bone in place. Okay. Yet on the other hand, people who are under chiropractic wellness care, get this, guys, some of you feel like health care is expensive. Sickness care is expensive. Health care, just chiropractic alone, saved 85% fewer drug costs over the course of time. It was literally spent only 31% of the national average, so saving 70% of the amount of money that you would spend on sickness care. Do you guys get that? Again, what's the number one cause of bankruptcy in this country? Medical bills. So instead of spending all of that, if you spent 31% of that and put the other 70% in your pocket, do you guys get that? So if you say you can't afford to be healthy, think again, you can't afford to be sick. Okay? So any of your friends who say, I can't afford to take care of myself, got to give them that knowledge. All right, so we got some testimonials here that we're going to read for a second. I'm just going to read Joey's first because it's pretty cool. So this is the first part's from Joey. He said he began his care because he was always sick. His asthma would bother him, and he was on lots of medication. My mom and dad wanted me to be off my medication because they weren't sure about the long-term effects that it would have. Actually, I guess mom helped him with this because he probably wouldn't have wrote this at 6 years old. At 6 years old, he was on his medications for 3 years at this point, and every 2 weeks he was missing at least 1 day of school. If somebody had a cold, he would catch it. It would go straight to his lungs, causing him to be miserable. I had the same problem when I was a kid. He couldn't do his school, his homework, or play with his brother, and he missed his friends. Then his mom and dad brought him to his chiropractor. They didn't do it at first because they thought it was too good to be true. But then, since he's been under chiropractic care, he's been off his nebulizer, his asthma's gone, he hasn't gotten sick since the first 2 weeks of care, and his mom says it's amazing, and that's since last Christmas. They've even noticed that Joey stops snoring at night. He breathes through his nose. He's sleeping better. His immune system's so much better. And that some of their friends, the Lawlers, actually sent them in here, so they were thanking them as well. And then Riley. Riley's 9 years old, and she was 4. She was diagnosed with celiac disease and vitiligo, and also alopecia, which is thinning of her hair. She's been going to chiropractic care now for 5 months, and she says she's had a great experience. She's basically, all her problems are going away. Her celiac disease, her allergies are better. Her itching has stopped, and ever since she started the advanced plan, she feels a lot stronger. That's the nutrition plan for those of you guys who don't know. And she says, "My power's on." She can't wait to say that when we move the bone, God does the healing, and that's why she keeps coming back. So again, these kids have learned the truth. Now, I wish that my bald spot would go away, but the reality is that this little girl shouldn't have had that, right? So as long as we gave her body what it needs and she removed what she didn't, she became a healthier person. And hopefully she takes that with her for a lifetime. There was a thing in chiropractic called the big idea. And the big idea is that your nervous system controls everything in your body. As long as you take care of it, it takes care of you. And when the founder of chiropractic was asked, is it possible for someone to get the big idea and then to lose it? And his answer to this student was, well, if they lost it, then they never really got it in the first place, because that's how big the big idea is. Does that make sense? So hopefully you guys got it. The only way that you would know if you have nerve interference, more stress than your body can adapt to, is the nerve scan. The x-rays tell us how much of that is physical, but the nerve scan tells us if you have more stress than your body can adapt to. Okay? And the reason why the NASA scientists created that is because they wanted the people who were going up into space, who were going to be under lots of G-forces, changing their diet, no gravity, would be healthy, so they started doing that. All right, a couple of healthy family resources in addition to the 15% off on the Glutathione Daily Detox. We also have the Women's Multi and the Vitamin D3, both insanely popular and very, very good stuff, both formulated by Jordan Rubin, who is our go-to guy for our nutraceutical formulations. And we're even making them better in the next year. So if you have any questions on either of those, we'll talk about that. We do have a 30-day challenge, which we're going to post the link to, since I don't want to give out all this paper because I'm not sure who's doing it or who's not. It's going to be posted on our Facebook account. So we want you to go through the whole makeover of your family in the next 30 days to introduce the advanced plan, to introduce the exercise program, which is called the Max T3, to make sure that your family's doing it together. One of the best things that I loved when I was doing the Max T3 6 days a week was that my kids would come in and they would join us. And even if they weren't doing the full thing full out, or if they weren't doing the exercises properly, there's nothing cooler than seeing a 5-year-old jumping up and down, doing jumping jacks, and getting her body moving, understanding that she's doing something healthy for herself. Does that make sense? That she has the healing power inside of her. So I would love for you guys to engage your families in this process. Remember, if you're the only member of your family that's here tonight, you're going to go home, and what's going to happen?
They're going to hate you.
Well, you're going to get a lot of this. So you have to be equipped with this love for them so much that you're willing to deal with that. You have to be able to say, listen, I know I'm going to take the arrows. I know they're not going to want to do this, but bring them on board. Engage them. The measurement of a leader is not about just taking authority. It's not about saying, I'm the man of this house. You're only a leader if people are following you. You guys get that? So engage your family in fun activities and show them why. And show them the downside, because again, you got to make it here and here. It's not about, how important would it be for you to be healthy and disease-free? If it's somewhere in here, I guess it'd be cool. You're not doing a thing. Does that make sense? That does not motivate. But if for thinking of my kids having cancer, that is like a 10 for me. You guys get that? And seeing them, reaching their full God-given potential, that's a positive 10. So make sure you engage in the 30-day process. Dr. McNabb, please make sure that you upload the link. Again, just to beat it into your heads, we've got our back-to-school PAD. So if you have any school supplies, please bring them for those kids who can't afford their own. And also, the fringe benefit of that is when you bring those supplies, you're also sponsoring somebody else to get checked for subluxation. We'll do the nerve scan, and we'll do the x-rays. And then also the community dinner and the... which is coming up not that date, it's on the 5th. We have it on your paper over here. So the brunch is Saturday, so it's on here. If you want to sign up for the brunch, or if you want to sign up for the dinner, or if you want to sign up for the webinar, just check the box that says that, and we'll hook you up with the proper stuff. We still have about 10 spots left for the brunch, so if you want to have, even if you just want free food, but you got to bring somebody with you, because they got to hear the truth. And what they do after that is up to them. But you throw the life jacket. And then, of course, you can reach us online as well. All right. I'm here to answer any questions you have. Otherwise, I'm going to let you go. I thank you for listening.